Imagine this. I'll show you a nice quiet picture or a video about winter snowfall. How would you feel? There's no right or wrong answer here, but we don't all feel the same. Sometimes probably you'd love this image, but I'm sure that after a few months in the dark and with the cold, you probably dread it. After my spinal surgery, I found myself in a really bad place. Everybody was concerned about my well-being, and from the outside, everything looked fine. But I thought I needed to find a way up, and I decided to implement a few strategies that I will share with you today that really helped me climb back into the world of the living. What is seasonal affective disorder, winter blues? Seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression is triggered by the changing season. It's absolutely more common during the fall and winter, but it can also occur in summer. So don't worry, it's not just about bad weather. It's about the changing of the light. It's mostly related to lower level of serotonin, and those level helps regulate your mood, your behavior, and your sleep patterns. Depression in general affects about 5% of the world population. That means that if you're in a room with 100 people, 5 of those suffer from depression disorders. Seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorders actually touch about something like the 20% of the population. That means that in a room with 10 people, 2 of those will probably suffer from seasonal affective disorder. As I said before, after my spinal surgery, my mental health was totally disrupted. I was in a really fragile place in my life, and everything looked very dark. I surely thought it was a bit of my fault, like, come on, get up. But on the other hand, I realized by reading a lot that many of the feelings I was feeling were due to the environment in which I was living that moment. I was always in bed. Most of the time I was indoor. That really is one of those things that don't help with mood disorder of any kind. All the strategies we're gonna discuss today can be applied to everybody, even who is not affected by any kind of depressive disorder. So it's really about biology and about how the outside environment interferes with your mind. Usually the symptoms subside as the changing of the season. I would really like to open a discussion here. Although there's more chances that women suffer from seasonal disorder and depression, I would really want to normalize talking about male depression. We don't face the fact that there's a lot of male population suffering from it, and there's a stigma about it. We think about a man with depression like a man that's weak and is not macho enough, and that is not okay, because it is biology, it is a disorder, and anybody can suffer from it. I really think there is a need of normalizing male disorder and male mood disorder, because we live in a world of equals. That's why I think it's really, really important to get habits in our lives and strategies that can prevent the onset on any kind of depression, seasonal disorder, or mood disruption. Then it's gonna be easier to have them kick them in when we really need them. And I would recommend, even if you just try one, to try something. Just go on with one thing at a time, small steps, and then implement and keep on going. And you don't need to go live in the middle of a forest in a cabin. You can have an absolutely balanced life in the middle of a city, in the country, by the seaside. It's just about mindset and how you decide to apply the strategies we're gonna talk about. So let's dive in. We're gonna touch 5 points. I'm gonna start with the most obvious one. Get a lot of sunlight exposure. That's really the main thing that you should consider with any kind of depression. Here, in the middle of the mountains, the winter can be a bit dark, but I do wake up very early. I usually wake up around 5:30 in the morning, and the first things I do as soon as the sun comes up, and I go out and I try to get some sunlight in my face. In the meantime, when I'm waiting for getting the sunlight, the first things I do is turn on all the light. There's a mechanical trigger that works with our mood changes. So turn on the lights or get out in the sun, and that really helps you get serotonin going, and serotonin is gonna help you with the mood. If you can, spend as much time as you can outside. I usually go for long walks in the forest, even in the middle of the winter, even if it's raining, even if it's bad weather. Yes, you're saying, well, then there's no sunlight if it's bad weather. Yes, it's not direct sunlight, but it's natural light, and as long as you just go for a little bit longer outside, it's gonna have the same effect. So if you usually stay for 10 minutes, exposing yourself to sunlight, if it's a bad day, you're probably gonna go for 30 minutes. You can stay out a few hours if you want, but as long as it's natural light and it's outside, it's gonna be just amazing for your mood. If you're thinking about your regular day, maybe you're going to school or maybe you work in the office, then try to sit next to a window. And also consider doing light therapy. There are some light boxes. There are tiny machines that just emit natural light that you can buy even with the aid of some insurances. So if they are prescribed from a doctor, you can even buy them with the help of the insurance company. The second thing we're going to talk about is sleep routine. I know that we all have different lives, and sometimes we go to sleep late and sometimes we go to sleep early. Keeping a sleep routine as balanced as possible is the best thing. I go to sleep quite early, usually around 9 in the evening, and then I read in the bed, either a physical book or an e-reader, not my phone, not my iPad, and I wake up quite early. But one thing I've learned is to make sure that I sleep either 6 hours or 7 hours and a half or 9 hours, but nothing in between. What I'm making sure is always that I sleep on cycles of 90 minutes. I don't wake up in the middle of these cycles unless something of course happens, but I try to wake up either at the beginning or at the end of one of those cycles. The things with our mind is that when you wake up in the middle of a cycle, even if you slept like 10 hours, your sleep is not gonna be as restful and you're probably gonna be groggy, feeling not well. So that's really important. Make sure that you have the right range of sleep and your sleep patterns corresponds to one of these sleep cycles. So like I said, sleep 6, like sleep 7.5, sleep 9 hours. Don't sleep for like 8.5 or 7 hours. Sleep for the cycles of 90. You're gonna fall into a natural pattern. After a while, even having the alarm will not be as needed. These cycles with time they become natural and they really help you feel rested. It used to take me about 1 hour to fall asleep when I was younger, 7 years ago. But I've learned to do some deep relaxation or some breathing exercises before falling asleep. That helps me fall asleep in about 10 minutes. And those exercises also help me if for whatever reason I wake up in the middle of the night. Waking up in the middle of the night can happen, especially if you have young kids or if you are taking care of somebody that has some kind of disease or somebody that's ill at home. But it's really important to fall back asleep as quickly as possible. So if you get nervous because you're not falling asleep, get up and go do something else. The brain needs to understand that the bedroom is a place of rest time. If you stay there and you get really anxious because you're not falling asleep, it's better just to get up. But in the other situation where you can just do some relaxation breathing, you can use counted breathing techniques that are very easy, and they are used as well to fight anxious moments or anxiety in general. They are quite easy and there's a lot of literature on the internet if you want to find out some more, or just ask me in a comment and I'll try to explain to you some easy counted breathing techniques. Before going to sleep, please don't engage in activity that gets you anxious or that gets you hyperexcited. That means as well, no screen time. No screen time either on the phone or on the iPad. Use an e-reader if you want to read. If you want to watch TV, try to stop watching whatever you're watching half an hour before going to sleep. The brain cannot really shut off when the blue lights that come from all these devices keep flashing in the brain. So it's impossible to just turn off a phone and then get straight to bed. You're probably gonna end up being really nervous in the bed and not falling asleep as easily, and your sleep pattern is going to be really disrupted. So try not to engage in any kind of screen time right before bed. Get a book, get a candle, do a bath, do some yoga, do some breathing exercise, anything but not phone. Third point, we're gonna go for exercise. Yeah, I'm not talking about going to the gym all the time. After my spinal surgery, my approach to any kind of exercise was like the same that I would have had towards a medical treatment. So I just told myself, okay, if you don't do the exercise that you're supposed to do, you're not gonna walk properly again. So that was my mindset, and I guess that really motivated me. I was really trying to find a good balance. At the beginning was just walking, then it was brisk walking, then from there it became walking and getting back to my yoga routines. So I was always implementing on, and what I made sure of was not to get too much of the exercise routine in my daily life, because I knew that then I would just give it up. Because if it starts being too much, finding 90 minutes every day to do exercises, then you're just gonna give up. I really found my pattern, and I usually exercise about 15 minutes, 20 minutes every day, doing really light exercises. I make sure I walk a lot. I go out with the dogs and I walk. And twice a week I'll do a longer yoga session, so about an hour and 15 minutes, 1 hour. I'll try to be active during the whole day without focusing just on doing some specific exercise. If you decide to do some kind of exercise, I would go for strength training and resistance training. If you can go running, go running. Anything that you can do outdoor gives you the double benefit. So you're gonna get a double boost of good mood hormone, and I think it's really helpful. So consider doing activity outside, and that's really, really a good idea. Since I couldn't run anymore, a good option for me was Nordic walking. Nordic walking is really fantastic. People sometimes look at me like, what is she doing walking around with the sticks? But it really helps my posture. So if you have back issues, you cannot go running, or you find yourself saying, no, my knees, they will not work, try Nordic walking. It's quite easy. There's a lot of tutorial online that you can look on how to do it. You just need a good pair of shoes, nothing exceptional, the Nordic walking sticks, and that's gonna be like, I don't know, $20. So it's not so expensive, and it really makes a difference, and it helps you with the oxygen, it helps you with your posture, it helps you with the back. And if you have a problem with weight, it's gonna help you way more than going running. And it's gonna be way easier to implement in your daily life than say, okay, I'm gonna go for a 30 minutes run, I'm gonna give it my all, I'm gonna destroy myself. Then you get back home, you're tired, you're completely done, and the next day you just don't feel like doing it. Above everything else, whatever you decide to pick something you enjoy, because that's the only way that you're gonna stick with it. Nutrition. This is the fourth point. We really should pay attention to the way food can really impact our behaviors. Sometimes we crave sugars, and so we jump just in a bag of cookies, and the spike in the sugar gives us a sort of respite from a bad mood for a moment, but then we just plummet back down. And that is because we get some really high glucose spikes. So I would really think about how I eat during my day. I read a few years ago a book about sugar blood levels, and more recently a really enlightening book called The Glucose Revolution that really helped me understand how the glucose work and helped me decide what to have around the house, like as in food, that could help my mood and boost my energy levels. So nutrition is really important. Above everything else, in nutrition, consider that it's proven that a lot of inflammation in the body can disrupt our moods and get us down with depression, seasonal disorder, and other form of mood disorder. So a good intake of APA, that really helps with boosting your mood. So fatty acid, you can find them in fishes. If you are vegan or vegetarian and you don't want to eat fish, you can consider eating a lot of nuts and fat seeds. That could really boost your metabolism and your mood and your energy level. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a treat once in a while, the ice cream or a cake or whatever. Just try not to overeat like an habit, because that really is gonna get you down, and it's really gonna disrupt your mood, and it's gonna get any kind of depression worse. The last point we're gonna talk about today is, and I think it's really easy, it's self-reflection and journal. I talk about journaling and self-reflection in some of my blogs, and if you ever wanna go have a look, it's either on Substack or there is a blog page that I have, and you can find the link in the description. Self-reflection and journaling for me came together as my spinal surgery. Right after I got dismissed from the hospital, my doctor talked to me and he suggested that I started taking this journal habit. And I was a bit perplexed. Like, I really like to write, but it felt like, okay, isn't something that you do when you're like a teenager? So it felt a bit I don't know, misplaced on me. But I did try, and he explained to me why I was supposed to do this journaling. He told me this: if you write today and you say that your pains are really bad and your day is really dark and your mood is under your feet, and you go back on it in a few days, you're probably gonna realize how things have changed, how that moment that to you looks so dark is not gonna last forever. And the thing that he talked to me about was perspective. In a few days, when you go back on the things you wrote, you suddenly realize, oh, okay, so today is better. It's really a way to express yourself without thinking that somebody is listening, so you can be really truthful, and it helps you put things in order. Because when you speak to a friend, sometimes you just speak not because you're looking for a solution, you talk to a friend because you want to be listened. And sometimes you need to put your thoughts in order. The same thing you do it when you write. You write down and you actually reflect on what happened to you. I understand that not everybody feels like writing, so self-reflecting, if not journaling with a pen and a piece of paper, is just as well. Take every day like 10 minutes to think about your day, about what happened, about how you reacted to the things that happened to you, and help the brain process them. This really helps you get a grip on your feelings, because when you process the things that happens to you, you sort of put you in a different spot from when you leave them. And from that different spot, you get a different view. And it's really, really helpful. You can consider journaling a sort of self-care routine. And when you take care of yourself, you really live better. And please remember, having a weakness doesn't make you bad. Our weaknesses sometimes helps us understand that we can be way stronger. So that is a point for starting a journey. So just consider a starting point, and from there, work your way up. If all these coping strategies and habits don't give you any kind of relief and they do not help, please consider talking to a professional. Sometimes a lot of these coping strategies work very well together, paired with medication and therapy. So even if you do decide to talk with a professional, don't think that all the things that I talked about today, they're not going to help. So put them together and maybe decide a specific kind of orders of things that you want to do with your therapist. It's really important to talk to a therapist, to friends, to your family, whatever is the symptoms that you feel, whatever is the disorder you think you might have, or if you just have a bad period in your life, talk to somebody. Talking is the base of everything. Talking is what's gonna take you out of here. Of course, support from your inner circles and family is really helpful. It's not mandatory, but having people that's gonna walk with you along this path is really gonna make things easier. There's a lot of communities, even online communities, where people just sort of support each other. I saw it in the comments from last video, and that really warmed my heart. So consider even talking with some online friends if you don't have some family member or friends that will support you. There's really no reason to be ashamed. If we don't accept what we are, we're never gonna get better. So don't feel guilty, just talk. Opening up, sometimes it's just the starting point. Mental issues don't make us less valuable as a friend or as a person, but need to be faced with a different mindset and with different behavioral tools. But behavioral tools are really easy to implement in our daily lives. Anyone can experience depression, and all the above strategies can help you prevent it or cope with it. So really consider to start somewhere. So what's gonna be the first things you're gonna work on? Let me know in the comment, and until next time, take care. Ciao.